to the channel. I'm back to break down this 11-game slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. Before we get into it, I have released 2 new packages over on my Patreon. I released an MLB betting package due to popular request, and then I have a combo package that will include both my DFS package and my betting package if you're interested. You can follow me over on Twitter at KJK DFS. And with that being said, let's start breaking down this slate today. So we have an 11-gamer, pretty decent sized slate. Going to be some good pitching options, going to be some bats to target. And as always, I like to go ahead and figure out the pitching that we're going to want to target first. And I do that by looking at K rate. We play fantasy sports, we get points for strikeouts. And when looking at who leads the slate in K rate today, we have Zach Gallen, who leads the slate by a pretty significant margin. He comes in with a 29% K rate. He's got a 2.8 ERA. A 12.7 swinging strike rate, and then we're looking at his splits. Against righties, he's less than stellar, and against lefties, he's been very good. So we do prefer him in left-handed heavy matchups, and he is not going to get that today, taking on the Oakland Athletics. When you look at the Oakland A's lineup, up and down, they are mainly a right-handed heavy lineup. I mean, you have 3 lefties in there, but they are mainly righties. So, I mean, when looking at Gallen's numbers, he does have those splits problems that we mentioned, but he does have a 29% K rate overall, and he does get a 29.6% clip against righties. And then with the lefties, it drops down to 28.4. So while his hard contact and his ground ball rate and all that stuff isn't quite as good against righties, he does still have the K rate. And these Oakland A's definitely have some strikeouts in their lineup. They're known for, they have some sluggers, but they definitely strike out quite a bit. So that's the positives, and the negatives to Gallen. I would keep an eye on these Vegas lines as they come out today, and that would probably make me feel a little more comfortable if it comes out and he's a decent favorite. I definitely have interest in playing him regardless, but those are the positives and the negatives. He's going to go out there and get you your strikeouts, but he does give up some pop against righties, so I can see these righties giving him a little bit of a hard time. But with that being said, he comes in at an 8.8K price tag on DraftKings, which isn't terrible. It's in the mid to high price range, and I think he's definitely someone I can go ahead and promote to play today. Second on the list in guys we want to target is going to be that in Griffin Canning. Canning comes in with a 24.5% K rate. Against righties, he's got a 24.7% K rate, and then over against lefties, it's a 24.2%. So pretty consistent across the board. He does struggle more so against righties, similar to Gallen. And when looking at the San Francisco Giants lineup, they are going to be rolling out, quite a few lefties. So, and even just their entire lineup has a pretty decent K rate. So I think that Canning's definitely going to be a guy you're going to want to target today. He comes in at 8.2 on DraftKings. Still in that mid-range, and we're going to have a lot of pitchers in that range today that we're going to want to target, so it's going to be difficult to decipher. I would say as the lines come out, maybe favor a guy that's more heavily favored, and then also strikeouts are important, so if they target the lineups with the higher strikeout rates. And, Canning definitely has a good matchup today against the Giants in that aspect. They strike out a lot. They have been showing that they strike out a lot throughout the year. And while Canning doesn't have elite strikeout stuff, it's definitely decent. And his price tag, he's definitely the second guy I got to promote. So you got Gallen at 8.8, Canning at 8.2. And the next guy we're going to want to promote is in this Dodgers-Seattle game in Ross Stripling. Ross comes in with a 25.7% K rate. It's pretty solid across the board. The fly ball and the walk rate are very impressive. And then against righties, he's less than stellar, and lefties, he's a lot better. So seems to be a trend today in these pitchers. They're a little worse against righties. And when looking at Stripling's K rates, also as he has a 27.4 against lefties and a 23.9 against righties. So we do prefer some lefties when it comes to Stripling as far as our strikeout upside. When looking at the Seattle team, we do prefer him against left-handed heavy lineups. And they're going to roll out, it looks like, 5 lefties here. You got J.P. Crawford, Malik Smith, Daniel Vogelbach, and Kyle Seager. And then the righties have a decent strikeout rate as well. So while Stripling does excel against lefties, we can deal with the righties as well. And he comes in as a 304 favorite. He's a massive favorite. And you got to like him today against these Mariners. And then, moving further along, I would say I do have probably one more guy to target as far as pitching is concerned. And he comes in at, well, he's a very good real-life pitcher, but fantasy-wise, his strikeout rate isn't the highest, but he gets to take on the Baltimore Orioles today, and that's in Hyun Ryu. He has a 24.4% K rate. He's very good in the fly ball, walk, and hard hit rate categories. And then against righties, he's got a 24.9% K rate, and lefties it's 22.9, but he just doesn't get killed. You look at the numbers across the board in the hard contact against both splits, and he's very impressive. And the Baltimore lineup is a lineup that we're going to want to target because they do have strikeouts in there. He's not the heaviest favorite on the board, and he comes in at a 9.4 price tag, so he's a little higher than the guys we discussed so far as price, but he's in a good spot. You got to like him here. And he's, probably my last guy that I have to mention. And with that being said, let's go ahead and start looking at some bats we're going to want to target today. And the first spot that we have to mention is that in the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Dodgers are going to take on Justin Dunn in Seattle. And when looking at Dunn's numbers across the board, they are not good at all. He's got a 7.55 Sierra. He's got a 14.4% K rate. Doesn't strike anyone out. He allows a lot of fly balls, a lot of ground balls. And he allows a lot of walks. And then when you're looking at his splits, he is absolutely terrible against left-handed pitching. He's really not good against righties either, but the slugging's down to a 349 compared to, it's actually a 360 against lefties too. So the slugging category doesn't struggle against lefties, but he does struggle in the ground ball, the fly ball, the wOBA, and the hard hit rate. So overall, he's just not good. A lot of red there. And that's going to make me really like these Dodgers lefties today. So, you got Corey Seager, Cody Bellinger, Max Muncy, Jock Peterson, love them a lot. And then I do like all the righties as well. Just it's a great overall spot, but you have to look at salary. And we do prefer the lefties when you're paying paying up at a price tag. So when you're paying 4.8 for Max Muncy and you're paying 4.8 for Justin Turner, if you have to pick between one of them, I'm probably going Muncy because of the splits. But obviously, we play daily fantasy sports and there are positions and stuff. And, if you need a third baseman, Justin Turner is great to fill in your stack. So I really do like 1 through 9. I don't have an issue with any of these guys, but prefer the lefties. So just want to make that clear. And then throw in the righties and obviously the elite guys like, Mookie Betts. He's been hot. You want to always have interest in Mookie. So throw him in there if at all possible. But he does come in at a 5.9 price tag. So they've priced him up for his recent performance. So Dodgers, got to like them today. And then second on the list in guys that we're going to want to target is that not by there's a pretty big gap from Dunn to the next pitcher, so I'll just mention that. Definitely have interest in the Dodgers. And then Zach Davies is a guy that we can target taking on Texas today. You can see he's got a 16.3% K rate. He doesn't really strike anyone out, and he's pretty decent in the the hard hit rate, the fly ball, and all that stuff against righties. And then against lefties, it drops off. That's when things get more interesting. And we're definitely gonna have interest in some of these Texas power bats from the left-handed side of the plate. So when looking at the Texas lineup, guys that we're going to want to target are that, and this is where in a few of my last few videos, we've had similar spots where Vegas is only implying them to score 4 runs. But if you look at the numbers, the lefties are in a great spot here. So it's something where maybe we could go against Vegas and say, they're not going to only score 4 runs. Or if they do score 4 runs, it could be, 4 solo shots because we have decent appeal in the ISO, the wOBA, the hard hit rate, and all that fun stuff to lefties. So just something to keep in mind. People always look at Vegas lines in DFS, so if you can find a good spot where they're not implied to score a lot of runs, but you look at the data and it makes a lot of sense, don't have any hesitation in going ahead and stacking that spot. And that's what we have here in the Rangers today. So we're going to want to target, all the lefties. So Shin-Soo Choo, Willie Calhoun, Joey Gallo, Danny Santana, and Rougned Odor. And then if you want to finish off your stack, you can throw in those righties. But I do strongly prefer the lefties in this Texas lineup. And they're the next spot that I would go. Go ahead and target those Texas lefties. And then moving further along, this is where we're going to probably start talking about some teams with some of those higher implied run totals. And the first team is going to be that in the Minnesota Twins. The Minnesota Twins have a 5.71 implied run total, taking on Chris Bubic in the Kansas City Royals bullpen, which is absolutely terrible. And we're looking at Bubic's numbers so far. We only have a 15 innings pitched sample size, but it's been not great at all. He's got a 5.4 ERA, 24.2% K rate is decent, and the ground ball and the fly ball stuff actually hasn't been bad. But the WOBA, the hard hit rate, and the slugging are all less than stellar. And then if you look at his splits, he's actually been very bad against lefties. Very, very bad. And being that, he's a left-handed pitcher, I talk about this often, but people that are playing DraftKings and FanDuel like to target, righties against lefties. And if it's a lefty against a lefty, they'll just shy off from it. So that makes me like any spot that we can get like this where we can get a guy loaned. So, my top option is going to be that and Eddie Rosario. And then Jake Cave has a lot of pop too. So Rosario and Jake Cave are definitely good contrarian plays in my opinion. But I do have interest in these righties that crush left-handed pitching as well. You have Mitch Garver, Nelson Cruz, Miguel Sano, all absolutely elite against left-handed pitching. And you got to like them a lot today. And then you like Jorge Polanco at the shortstop position because he's a shortstop and he's Polanco. He's a switch hitter and he just gets the job done when he's in the stack. You got to like him there. And so, yeah, nice blend stack. Go ahead and stack up these Twins, and I would advise you throw in a lefty because I think the lefty will be low owned. And when looking at Bubic's numbers, they're actually in a really good spot here. And then not to mention the wind's blowing out to right field at 10 miles an hour. So I like the Twin stack, like throwing in a lefty there to be contrarian. And then our next spot of interest is going to be that in the Atlanta Braves taking on the Washington Nationals and Annabelle Sanchez. And when looking at Sanchez's numbers, he's pretty average across the board. But then against righties, he gives up a ton of fly balls. The ground ball rate's not good, and then the slugging's bad. And against lefties, he's very good. So preferably, once again, we have a right-handed pitcher with bad splits against right-handed hitting. And when looking at the Atlanta lineup, we definitely have some righties we can target. Dansby Swanson, Travis d'Arnaud, Marcell Ozuna, Adam Duvall. All these guys. Austin Riley has power. All these guys you can target. My preferred options would be Dansby Swanson, Ozuna, Duvall, and Riley. But you do have to like the left-handed hitter as well, and Freddie Freeman, just an elite hitter. So throw him in there to complete your stacks. Don't shy off. Even though Annabelle Sanchez's numbers are good against lefties, when you have an elite hitter like Freddie and he's in the middle of this order, you got to like him, and then you could throw in a Markakis to finish off your stack. But I mean, my favorite option is definitely that in Marcell Ozuna in the 4 spot. Ozuna in a great spot today. You got to like him. And then, lastly, the team that I'm probably going to want to target, well, I shouldn't say probably, I really do want to target, is going to be that in, well, as we're looking throughout the slate here, we already covered the Braves, we covered the Twins, we covered the Rangers lefties, and then we covered the Dodgers lefties. Those are all great spots. And then I think, the Yankees have been hot, and they're the last spot we're going to have to mention. Boston's pitching has been terrible this year. They've been fun to target, and, the Yankees, while they don't have LeMahieu, they don't have Judge, and they don't have Stanton, it's looking like that is still going to give us, it's going to give us some salary, and it's still in a good spot against Martin Perez. So when looking at Martin Perez's numbers, you can see, less than impressive across the board. He's pretty good in the fly ball category, but other than that, he's not really good at all. And then when you look at, his splits against righties, he gives up a lot of hard contact and a lot of slugging. And against lefties, he's very good. So I don't want to target the lefties in this lineup, but the righties I definitely have interest in. So we want the righties that crush. Luke Voigt, Gio Urshela, Gary Sanchez, Clint Frazier. Like all those guys today. And lastly, I'll give you guys one more stack today. Scrolling down to these Chicago White Sox. Chicago White Sox get to go and take on Matthew Boyd in Chicago today. And Boyd's a guy that's really been struggling. You know, he has a decent strikeout rate when he's in the right matchup, but the problem is his ground ball and his fly ball stuff is absolutely terrible. And against righties specifically, he just can't get the job done. He's below average across the board. He gives up way too much hard contact. And against lefties, he's pretty good. But anyone in this lineup that can crush left-handed pitching, we are going to want to play because they're in a great spot today against Matthew Boyd. So my favorites are Tim Anderson, Yasmani Grandal, Jose Abreu, Edwin Encarnacion, Eloy Jimenez, and Luis Robert. Gotta like those guys. And really, I like every righty, but you know, the elite names and the guys with the power are probably that 3 through 6 range. You know, Grandal, Abreu, Encarnacion, and Eloy Jimenez. And then I do like Tim Anderson a lot at the top of this lineup because Tim Anderson fills in that shortstop position. And he does crush left-handed pitching. So you got to like him today. And so with that being said, we've pretty much broken down this entire slate. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys my home run call today. We weren't able to come through with a home run call last time, so that makes me 3 for 5 since I started my home run calls. And today, my home run pick of the day is going to be in one of the stacks that I had mentioned. This Minnesota Twins team taking on the left-handed pitcher. My home run call today is going to be that in Nelson Cruz, the boomstick as they like to call him. He gets to take on Bubic to open up this game, and Nelson Cruz is just absolutely dangerous against lefties. And then not to mention, I like the stack overall, so I think Cruz is going to get multiple options to go deep, or multiple opportunities against multiple opponents. And I really like myself some Nelson Cruz today, the boomstick. And that is my home run call of the day. So quick little overview of what we've gone over. We like the Yankees. We like the Yankees righties. We like these Atlanta Braves, specifically the righties, but throwing the lefties to complete your stacks. We like Ryu taking on the Orioles. We like the Minnesota Twins. We like throwing in a lefty to be contrarian, so Rosario I like a lot, and then Nelson Cruz is my top pick of the day to go deep. Like the Minnesota Twins a lot here. The Chicago White Sox righties against Matthew Boyd, you got to like them a lot. The guys with power, Abreu, Encarnacion, Eloy Jimenez. These Texas Rangers lefties, I think, are sneaky plays. They have a low Vegas total, and they're in a good spot here against Davies and his splits. Griffin Canning taking on the San Francisco Giants, I like as a pitcher. The Los Angeles Dodgers, I like a lot as a stack. I think they're in a great spot, specifically the lefties. So you got Seager, Bellinger, Muncy, Jock, and then obviously throw in these elite hitters in Turner, Betts, Pollock. You know, the Dodgers lineup is just nasty, so you got to like them today. And then Zach Allen comes in with a top K rate on the slate, and he gets to take on a Oakland A's team that strikes out at a good rate. So that's my overall breakdown of the slate today. As I had mentioned earlier, I did release those new packages over on Patreon. Go ahead and check those out if you're interested. It does help support me, and I think you're going to get some good content. I put a lot of effort into that stuff, so check it out. And lastly, Nelson Cruz is hitting a home run today. We've gone 0 for 2 our last couple picks after going a perfect 3-0. So looking to get back on the right track on the home run call. The boomstick, Nelson Cruz is going yard. And that is all from me. Follow me over there on Twitter at KJK _DFS. I wish you all the best of luck tonight and have a good one.